I'm getting all the streams going through. Stick that way. So. And we are live.
Hey, Kimbrio.
Hey, welcome to today's episode of Black Quarantine Report. Dennis Snipe.
Kimbrio, how are you, honey?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am well. Sporting my quarantine beard.
Your quarantine beard, okay? Look, we all struggling. The girls, we done took our nails off. You got a full beard. I'm glad you warned me over the text because I would have been like, who is this?
A full gray beard.
A full beard, okay?
Yeah.
But you look good, and it's good to lay eyes on you.
Thank you so very much. You look good. Well,
thank you. During this time when we can't really necessarily get together, these video calls and these connections that we make and that sort of thing, they always feel more purposeful. You know what I mean?
Indeed. Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, it feels good, and it feels good to connect with you. So thank you for coming on for Black Quarantine Report.
Thank you for inviting me.
You are welcome. I want to let people know Dennis and I are far from strangers. We're far from conversational strangers on camera, okay? I want to thank you. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to interview you for your show, Focus Talk, so we could kind of turn the tables on you and get to know you. And we had a blast.
That we did. It was still a little strange for me sitting on the other side in the guest seat, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I made it. I was gonna pull it out of you. Either way, I was like, nope, we're gonna get this information. He was like, Lord Kim, but it's okay. We had a good time.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Now let's talk. On the Black Quarantine Report, I would like to break it up into 3 different parts, right? So the first part, I'm going to talk to you about your personal experience with it. The next part, we're going to talk about the effects that it's had on you and then the Black community as a whole. And the last part, we're going to talk about how to make lemonade out of these lemons. You and then the Black community as a whole. So that's kind of how we structure and run through the show. So talk to me a little bit about your personal experience with the pandemic, and also specifically when you understood that it was real, when you started taking it serious.
You watch the news reports and you listen to everything that's going on, and I don't know about anyone else, but it's always as if though that it's over there.
Yes.
Until it gets closer and something happens to a friend or a loved one, and you're like, oh, wow, this is real.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think I was in the doctor's office, and the doctor said, you know what, Mr. Snipe, I think this thing is officially a pandemic. And I'm like, wow, because you think about all of these different things, but again, you don't think about it hitting home until it does.
Ever really happen. Yeah.
Exactly. However, if you check your history, we realize that history does nothing but repeat itself. And 1918, 1919, 1920, it was the Spanish flu.
Right.
And then before that, I believe it was cholera. And then before that, it was the Black Plague.
Yeah.
So every 100 years, there is something that happens as it relates to health and welfare.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that we have to remain focused and diligent during the situation and not lose our senses about it, but stay as focused as we possibly can.
As possible. Absolutely. I think that the hard part of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but with our community, sometimes it feels like we're all at different levels of acceptance. So it's hard to work on a united front, if that makes sense, because you got us that's saying, okay, this is where it's at. It's serious. We just got to stay collected and stay on this. And then we still have people that are still thinking it's a hoax and lobbying for it to open back up. You understand what I'm saying? it becomes concerning to me with our community specifically, and the lack of belief that it'll touch home, like you said. You know what I mean? Why do you think that is for us, for Black people?
Well, I think that our community has been disadvantaged at a lot of different areas, um, as far as education, as far as healthcare, and the list goes on and on.
Right.
And a lot of people may look at it and say, well, okay, it's something else that's going on to make my existence even more difficult.
Yeah.
However, in certain communities, the same things that we've been told to do or to be mindful of in this pandemic about COVID-19 is things that people have been experiencing on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Social distancing in certain communities is irregular
Yeah.
because of violence and other things that are going on. You have to be mindful of who it is that's walking up on you or who's talking and
I
certain
didn't think of it from that aspect. Yeah.
yeah, because in certain communities people don't speak to you. They'll make eye contact, or if they do, they'll immediately look down or look away. And if
Yeah.
someone does talk to you, they're talking to you because either they're trying to get you to buy something or it's some sort of game that they're running.
There's a goal at hand if they actually interact with you. That's so heavy because when I actually was thinking about COVID and in relativity to our community, my mindset went the opposite direction. And I was like, man, in some situations, I was like, it's going to be so hard for us to socially distance because
Hmm.
they've packed so many of us together in some situations. You know what I mean? And that's where my mindset was. But I had not considered, and that is completely relevant. We've already taught ourselves not to socially interact with each other in
Right.
public.
Because we're fearful
Yeah. Yeah.
of one another in certain situations. Well, what's your angle? Why are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Because
What
you really
you get
don't
my
have a
attention to
reason to be
rob
talking to
me, or you trying to sell me something or something. There's a reason for that's very real. And I'm curious, for the people that are watching this, I'm just curious if this is something that they experience where they're from. Now, me and you are both here in Chicago.
me. Right.
Chicago is a special kind of place. Okay.
That it is.
Chicago is very much the city that you can be in an elevator with a person, they won't even acknowledge your presence. They
That's true.
won't. There's no eye contact. There's no how you doing, and it's weird. It's weird when you go to other areas. You go to the South, and they, how you doing, neighbor? You, who, me? You talking to me
Right.
for? And it's funny because when you're down south and you see a lot of people transplanted from the north, their reaction to regular Southern hospitality is like you said, why are you talking to me?
Right.
Why
Exactly.
are you like, why are you interacting with me? There's a reason for you to be engaging with me because that's our mindset. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's extremely interesting. Now, talk to me a little bit about how it's affected you personally. um have you had any health issues with it, any with COVID?
No, I haven't had any health issues with the virus itself.
Okay.
However, I would be considered what you call high risk
Okay.
because I am a ESRD patient
Okay.
in end stage renal disease.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Break it down for the slow ones.
Now, end stage renal disease is basically dialysis.
Okay.
So, therefore, in addition to being in the house, I have to venture out 3 times a week for treatment. And
Being more
so,
susceptible.
exactly, exactly. So, that puts you at on alert as far as what you do and being mindful of where you're at and the people who are around you and being very careful about your environment as
Yeah.
far as wearing your mask, wearing your gloves, uh, being mindful of people who may be sick around you, because that could
Yeah.
cause a problem for someone like me.
Yeah, yeah. When and especially with so many people being asymptomatic, like they were saying, they could feel fine and feel like they're no threat to you, but
Hmm.
your system wouldn't be able to fight it off the same way other people's systems would. I mentioned on other shows, it's very, very important that people understand the importance of their underlying conditions.
Hmm.
I'm with my parents. Mom's got lupus, dad's diabetic. You understand what I'm saying? So it's
Yes.
when we understand how serious it can be
Hmm.
for those people, I think that's important. Now, have you been experiencing anyone in your circle, be it real life or social media, interactive, because we social distancing now, but have you experienced anyone in your circle who's just not taking it seriously? They're just
No, no, not that I can actually take note of.
okay.
All of the people who are in my group are very mindful of
Okay.
the situation, what to do, and to be very conscious as far as social distancing is concerned.
Okay.
However, when venturing out, I noticed that the age bracket of individuals who are out, who don't have masks on, and who
The
are treating
younger.
this thing as if though it's just um, a spring situation, are
Right.
those who are a little younger. And when you see that, you're like, do you really understand what it
What's
is that's
happening?
going on? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think they understand 100%, but it has become real for me in many different ways. Not only because I'm high risk, but then also I've lost quite a few people
Wow.
to the virus.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, well, wow, people that I've worked with, people that I've worshiped with,
I'm
uh,
sorry. Wow.
friends. And that's a very sobering fact. That's like, you know what? That could have been you.
Yeah.
Or that it's very real, because here's a person that you were just talking to about a week ago, and now
And
they're
now
not here anymore. Or someone that you've worked with as far as putting a show together or doing a play or anything,
yeah,
and they're gone.
they're gone.
And so those are things that you have to be mindful of, because it's not a joke.
Yeah. Now
It's not a plaything.
let me be blunt with you and ask you, because you're Dennis and you gonna go there with me, okay?
That I will.
Yeah, I know you will. So for the younger crowd that we're talking about, okay?
Hmm.
The stubborn folk.
Hmm.
This is for real, for real. How do we communicate with them in a way that they will listen? Because it almost feels like we're talking to a brick wall. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yes, I understand definitely. However, um, I am referring back to my lessons as a child with my parents. A hard head makes a soft tail. And I remember my dad saying that to me clearly. He said, "Son, I'm telling you what the information is, what this is about. And you need to take heed to what it is that I'm saying, because if not, there are consequences and
To that.
repercussions for
Mm-hmm.
not listening to me." And not only from him as my father, as far as discipline is concerned,
But the
but then
village.
also not getting the lesson, because there's another
Mm.
hefty cost that you have to pay for not getting the lesson and applying the knowledge that you've received for for life in general.
Yeah, because
And so
what'll happen, that lesson will keep coming right back around until you pick it up in another way, shape, form, opposite situation.
exactly, exactly. And now that I'm an older man now, with children of my own and grandchildren, I understand very well exactly what my parents were talking about. And
Yeah.
so my father has gone on to glory now, gone on to receive his reward. And if I could, I would have gotten more of those lessons from
Yeah.
him because they would have been beneficial to me as an older man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's the same thing with the young people who are not listening. I can talk to you until I'm blue in the face. However, there is a situation and a circumstance that won't talk back. It'll be demonstrative. It'll just
Yeah.
show you.
It's just going to show you. It's going to show you better
Exactly.
than it could tell you.
Exactly.
Now, when we talk about that real quick, I want to dig in there for a second. When we talk about that, my mind goes in two directions. A hard head make a soft behind, okay? Now we
Exactly.
have the one obvious consequence of unfortunately contracting or dying from it or that something like that, okay? That's the unfortunate consequence. What do you feel about policing, the actual policing of this matter? Is this something that they need to be harsher on? Is this something that they need to say, look, I'm not going to allow you to be stupid?
Well, okay. Now, as we venture down this particular road, it's very precarious.
Okay.
And it is because you say that if I am not obeying the laws as far as social distancing, as far as staying in the house, you're going to put me in jail, or you're going to do something that
Right.
I'm not happy with. Let's just
Right.
say that you're going to put me in jail.
Mm-hmm.
But you're putting me in jail in Cook County, where many of the people already are infected with the
Which is
disease.
defeating the purpose.
So I would think. But you're not dealing with, and so I ask myself the question. So if there are detainees who have the virus, how did they get it?
Right. Because
It's not they've been detained. So therefore, that means that the individuals who are working there are bringing the disease into the jail.
Right.
And so that means that they haven't properly been not only treated but tested.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, well, while you're doing what's going on out here in the streets to make sure that everyone is adhering to the laws and what's going on, we need to make sure that everyone is
Is
doing
that
that.
hearing? Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Because if not, now we have an even bigger problem because they're incarcerated because they may have done something wrong or broken the law, but it wasn't a death sentence. They shouldn't be given
I
a death
understand.
sentence for
For that.
a felony or for a misdemeanor.
Or for not social distancing, for not wearing a mask, for playing football, for real, for real.
Exactly.
Now, that leads me to say and explore with you, okay, are there other things that we can do to combat this where you're not putting them in danger, but there's still some type of consequence to pay? Be those fines, be those revoking of your license. You understand what I mean? Like, I'm just curious, since we're on this train of thought and I'm with you and you're gonna rock with me, you actually gonna have this conversation with me, talk to me. Is there something in between? You understand what I'm saying? Is there something in between? We can't do nothing really, and put them in jail.
Well, again, that is a very slippery slope again because the people who are who may be out and you find them, you give them a ticket, they don't have jobs because the employment rate has tripled.
Right.
And many people, they may be servers or they may be situated in non-essential
Non-essential.
jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, they're not employed. And so if they don't have any money to pay the ticket that they've gotten, now what? So
Right.
if they develop a warrant, then are we putting them in jail? What are we
Right.
doing?
And then we're going back to right back to where we were. Right. Right. This is heavy. This is something that I am very interested in continuing to explore. I'm probably going to be reaching out to you in regards to that. This is something that I want to keep exploring. But for today's show, we're going to pivot a little bit so we can give them a little bit more. Um, Talk to me about how the pandemic has affected you personally, and now you hit the personally. You really kind of hit
Mhm.
that. Talk to me
Yeah.
about how it's affected you professionally. What does work look like? What is there still
Professionally,
work?
say that again.
I said, is there still work? What does work look like? How does that work?
Um, it is different. It's very different because the schools are closed down, and in addition to that, the aspect as far as station manager for WKKC is at a slow pace right now.
Right.
And as far as um, freelance work, it's really slow as well.
That's what I was gonna ask.
So there are a few jobs that are coming through and that you can do from home. You know, my studio at home here at home, but then again, it's not very many.
Yeah.
So therefore, here's the issue that we have to keep in mind, that this situation with COVID-19, with the pandemic, will utterly change the way that we see things
Yeah.
moving forward. Number one, the economy. No one probably wants to say this, but I'll probably go online as far as saying this
All
now,
right.
that the economy is going to collapse as we know it. The push from our president has been to jumpstart the economy as quick as possible.
Because he
And
understands. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's good. We want to get people back to work so that America can continue to move, but we don't want to move too soon,
Exactly.
because
And I
if
was
we
gonna say,
do,
but at what expense? Because then
we're back to square one. We're back to ground
exactly.
zero.
Exactly.
And then it may be even worse than it will, because here's the other side. If we, providing that we have to go through the summer and then this continues into the winter, we'll be dealing with two viruses.
Right.
And then we'll have COVID-19, and we'll also have the flu season.
Correct.
And
Correct.
then it'll be even more difficult for healthcare professionals to be able to distinguish between the two.
Between the two, oh my God.
And so it will make it even worse. And so that's the first thing. But number two, it will change how we view things, because moving forward, in order to go to a concert, in order to go to school in the classroom setting, in order to go to church, in order to go anywhere where there are groups of people, you'll probably have to end up carrying a card that says, like your driver's license, that says,
That
well,
says I'm
I know the
clean.
rules of the road to say that I'm germ free.
Yeah. I'm Tabas tested. Yeah.
And that just may be a different paradigm going to the next level, because look at what we're doing now. We're talking, we're having an interview via the internet, and possibly, considering that socialization is starting to dwindle already, it
Yeah.
may make it even worse, because if we get in this particular groove of doing things, we
Yeah.
may not want to get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll become used to it and
Yeah.
say, well, you know what? I will do all of my interaction, all of my
Everything online.
socialization.
I don't have this showed me I don't have to leave.
Exactly.
Mm.
We look at our
This
young people, because our
this
young
is a
people
lot
right
to
now,
wrap my mind around.
indeed, and our young people are already dealing with 144 characters.
They're halfway there.
Halfway
They're
there.
halfway there.
They will pass you in the hall. You know, when I'm at school, they'll pass each other in the hall and go to their terminal to IM someone, or to say, what's up? How you doing? Well, you just saw me in the hall.
Literally, yeah.
Literally. But they'll go and they'll send a text or an email off of their device. So
Do
if
you
that
think
continues, then
Mhm.
it'll possibly all shut down.
That's a scary thing to think, but do you think that possibly we were being prepared for such a time as this so that the curve wouldn't be so dramatic?
Prepared for this? Okay. Now that
You're like, that's a cute little idea. You trying to be nice and silver linings.
yeah, because I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can say that it was being prepared. Yes, maybe so,
Unpack
but
that. You holding something back, and I want you to say it.
uh,
Come on, Dennis.
the fact of the matter is that are we not prepared for anything? Because it we see it on a regular basis. We see different things, but the question is, do we actually pay attention? Because we're busy with life, we're busy with distractions, and a
Right.
lot of us are not paying attention to what's going on.
Right.
And so when it happens, it's like, oh, this is terrible. But then again, it was previewed a while ago.
Yeah.
And then that's when we get into our politics as to who has our best interest at heart.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we get into the larger scheme of things, into the bigger scheme of things, as to um, voting rights and your constitutional rights. Are these things actually being paid attention to, or considering that this is going on over here, is anyone actually paying
Paying
attention
attention.
to what's happening over there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's all I'm going to say about that.
You listen, I was excited because I knew you would have the conversation with me and we could really talk. But you, a couple of times, you've literally taken my mind to a place that it makes sense. It's hard to wrap my mind around the realities. I think that there are some things that you've said thus far that make me understand how permanent some of these changes really are.
They may be very permanent. However, there is hope. This is the hope.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the lemonade. What's the talk? Yeah, give me that.
This is the hope. The hope is that no matter what dark cloud there is, there's always a silver lining.
Right.
There's always a silver lining. However, you must be able to focus on the silver lining and not focus on the wowsy woo woo. I know that it's difficult. I know that no one, definitely not in my lifetime, has seen anything like this.
Right.
And more than likely, we will not see anything like this again in our lifetime.
Right.
But in the meantime, what can be said about where we are? Is there something that can be said or done as far as focusing on your own specific business, as far as who you are and what you do? Is there another income stream that can be developed in the midst of this?
Yeah.
Will this give you more time to focus on perhaps your family?
Yeah.
Will this give you more time to focus on your health?
Yep.
Will it give you more time to focus on networking or writing your book or your play or developing the next reign of things that will take place in our society?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important to hear you say that. And I always make sure that as people say that and we throw this in there, I always make sure to let people know it doesn't always have to be business or professional related. It could be as simple as learning how to spend time with you. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
so many of us use the things that we do in remaining busy to block us from something. And
Hmm.
what this quarantine has done was say you can't go out and run and be busy. You understand what I'm saying? You can't do that. Now you can try to busy yourself around the house, but I really challenge people to in your achieving your professional endeavors, don't forget about the personal side of it. Don't forget about learning how to spend time with you, how to face things that you may need to face. You understand what I'm saying? Because, like you said, we don't slow down.
No, we don't slow down. We're constantly moving. We're constantly being distracted. And it can also be time to focus on the inside, a higher power,
Yeah.
developing your peace from
Yes.
somewhere else outside of society.
That
In
you're
the word,
dependent on your own happiness for real.
exactly. In the words of Lauryn Hill, how can you win when you're not right
Not right
within?
within. Come on.
And
You right
so,
about it.
therefore, this may be a time to focus inward
Hmm.
so that you can maybe answer some questions that you've had for a long time, deal with a few issues,
Yeah.
and come to peace with some different things that's going on with you, and then use that power to help you and your loved ones to be solidified during the crisis.
Correct. Talk to me a little bit about how you are making lemonade out of these lemons. How are you choosing to make the best of this situation in your life?
Doing exactly that. What I just recommended. Spending time with my family, and I'm cooking more because
Right?
per previously I'm on the run. I'm doing things.
Yeah, you were
I'm at
always
the station.
gone. You
I'm
yeah.
at the school. I'm at the bakery. I'm doing different things, and
Hmm.
I didn't have the time, and so I'm buying food. And however, my health situation doesn't allow me to be in the streets eating as much as I had been before. But this
Exactly.
situation shuts it all the way down.
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm cooking more, I'm spending more time with my family, I'm working on my own projects,
Good. That's what I'm
different
talking
things
about.
that I kind of neglected to do. You know what, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
interestingly enough, tomorrow never comes, because when it does, it's today.
Yeah.
And so therefore you don't have time. So
Yeah.
now I have a little more time, straightening up, throwing away some stuff that's
Yeah.
been kind of sitting around for a while, and then also working on that inner peace
Yeah.
that I recommended to other people. I'm
Yeah.
doing the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. That was really heavy, something that you said, and I really want people to pick that up. Today is tomorrow. Let me unpack that for people. Today is tomorrow. All those things you used to say you was gonna do tomorrow,
Tomorrow never comes.
t- today, today, right now, this day is that tomorrow y'all was talking about. So if it was
Exactly.
ever on your list, this is the time. This is the time. And it's not saying that to say it to people in a pressuring way, but it's
Hmm.
to say it in a loving. You have to. Here's my thing. I just think that it would be very tragic if a person survived this and came out on the other side and was no different. Did
Yeah, that would
nothing
be
grow? You know what I'm saying? Nothing about you grew. That would
that
be
would be
tragic.
quite unfortunate.
That would be tragic. And
Yeah.
that is why I'm so adamant. Like there's a big kind of pitter patter back and forth online, because you got these people saying what we're saying. Spend this time, write that book, do that thing, whatever that thing you were going to do, spend time with yourself, da, 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 da. And then you have the other people saying, I'm just surviving, and that's just enough. And I'm glad you're surviving, but I want you to thrive. And I'm very afraid that those people are going to get to the other side of this
Hmm.
and be no different. I'm
Yeah,
very afraid for them.
that would be tragic. That would absolutely be incredibly tragic. However, hopefully programs like this will spark people to get to the next level, to say, well, you know what, maybe they're right. There's some things that I've been thinking about that I need to do, that I haven't done
Yeah.
and that I just need to put into motion now.
Yeah.
And possibly the ginger part of that, well, come on. Oh, come on. Maybe they need a swift kick
Yeah.
and to say, here, come on, let's
Yeah.
go.
Let's
Because
go.
tomorrow isn't promised.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this, and let's pivot a little bit with these lemons and lemonade.
Hmm.
Talk to me about our community being, and I'm specifically meaning the Black community. How can we, as the Black community as a whole, make lemonade out of this situation?
We as a community, um, because our issues as a community are constant, I believe.
Hmm.
They're constant because considering that the coronavirus reared its ugly head during our situation doesn't make it any better. It makes it
Right.
worse
Worse. Right.
because the problems that we have are still there.
This
They're
is just
still
on
there.
top of them.
Exactly. It just makes them even more difficult because our young people, our children had already missed school
Yeah.
because of the strike.
Yeah.
And now there isn't any more school for the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
And so that causes a problem for all of the young people
Yeah.
who were graduating this year,
Yeah.
who were going to prom,
Yeah.
who were hopefully walking down the aisle to get their
Their
diplomas,
degree,
get
their
their
diploma. Right.
degrees, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever aspect. And then all of the athletes
That couldn't
who
compete.
exactly, exactly. And so they've been robbed of this for the remainder of their lives. Now, something may be done by their parents or their loved ones, or possibly by school officials, school authorities, to make the brunt a little more easier to bear. But the
But it'll
bottom line,
always be a consolation prize.
right, right, you get a booby prize. You don't get the grand prize,
Yeah.
and they've worked hard.
Yeah.
And so the issue remains the same, is that we have to deal with our issues ourselves, as far as dealing with one another, dealing with the problems in our community, tending to our young people, tending to our elders,
Mm.
to make sure that they're okay. And I know that it may be a little difficult now because we can't engage in the social aspect, but we can still put together care packages for older people
Mhm.
and give them a call to
Yeah.
say, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Smith, you doing all right?
Just
Is there
checking
something
on
that you
you. Yeah.
need? Hey, give me a list of
Yeah.
what you need, and I can go and get these things for you. But the
Yeah.
bottom line is that we still need to deal with ourselves, as far, because we know what we need.
We just got to do it.
We just have to do it. And then the other side of that is that for the longest, we've always depended upon other people to do it, whether they've been social agencies, or the government, the federal government, or it's the state. But
Somebody else got to fix it.
yeah, but
That's how we look at it.
but charity begins at home and spreads abroad. And
Mm.
so the issues have to be with right where we are.
Yeah.
We have to deal with them right where we are, and then continue to work at it and say, well, you know what? That person over there, they're ignorant. Yeah, they just may be. However, let's say their ignorance is a fire that's burning.
Mm.
If the wind shifts, it's going to blow over to your house as well.
Right.
So their ignorance, maybe they just need some help.
Yeah.
Or if you can just share a little bit with them
That is so.
as to where they're going and what it is that they're doing. Maybe they've never heard it before.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in this day and age, it's like, I don't care. It
Yeah.
doesn't affect me. I'm
Yeah.
not saying anything.
Yeah. It's so funny, and I count it as confirmation for people who have been watching the show for these past couple of weeks that I've been doing it. You are the third person who, when I said how can we as a community make this better, gave me some form of treat each other better, gave me some form of be more empathetic. It's within, it's all within our community. It's within us. It's within how we treat each other. It's within how we value ourselves. You know what I mean? And a lot of times when we have these conversations, I unconsciously was waiting for someone to give me a response that was like what you said, an institutional response. Well, the government should do this, and then if the government does that, and then, you understand what I mean, like some plan I've been with. And everybody's, is there's no plan, like you said. You summed it up best when you said we know what we got to do, we just got to do it.
What did Prisker do? He had been begging
Yeah,
the Don to help him, and he said, look, I'm tired of this. So he went to China and he bought what it
on
is
his
that we
own.
needed. Now, there may be some repercussion behind that, but I was always taught that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Okay. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. Wow, this has been dynamic. This has
So
been,
he knew what he needed. He
yeah,
knew what his people needed, and he wanted to provide for his people. So it's the same premise. It
yeah,
may be not on the same scale, but it's the same
exactly.
premise. We know what we need, so just do that.
Just do it.
Just do it.
If we were going to leave, and you were had one parting word, and you could speak to every Black person watching this, and you could leave them with a charge or a piece of advice or whatever quote, what's in your heart to say?
Here's a prescription for a crisis. What do you do in the middle of a crisis? The first thing that you do is feed your faith and not your fear. Feed your faith and not your fear. Now, there are fearful things going on all around us, whether it's on the radio, on the internet, on the news, with people, and so on and so forth. But connect with something or someone that will feed your faith instead of your fears. That's the first thing. Now, I'm sure that there's many other examples that could be given for that, but I'm just going to leave it right there for right now. The second thing that you do in the middle of a crisis, a prescription for a crisis, is that you go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Is that there are a lot of things that we used to do that we don't do anymore. And you did those things in order to get to where you are now. But somewhere along the way, you abandoned those things that were really good for you.
Mm-hmm.
If they were good for you then to get you to the point where you are now, why aren't you still doing them?
It would behoove you to continue them.
Exactly. Why aren't you still doing them? And why aren't you teaching those things to other people who may be struggling so that they can get to a point of stability?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Number one, feed your faith, not your fear. Number two, go back to the basics. And then the other thing is that continue to give it away. What it is that you've been blessed with, you give it away to some other folk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you help them, you pay it forward.
Yeah.
Give it away. Give it away. And now that's the thing, because now that one's gonna be a little difficult, because the bottom line is that a lot of us are selfish.
Yeah.
And we don't want to give away anything. We want to keep mine.
We don't even want to give away information. We want you to pay us to, for real.
Right. So we want to hold on to things, but the best way to keep things, give them away. Give them away. Yeah. And so those are my words of wisdom, so to speak, or prescription for a crisis, is to feed your faith, go back to basics, and continue to give it away. Pass it, pay it forward.
Pay it forward. That was powerful. Can I thank you? This has been an insightful conversation. It's been eye-opening. And I think that more than anything, it has not been aggressive. Let me
Mhm.
explain. I have a tendency to say, this what y'all supposed to do, and I'm fussing at them. And we spoke with people today.
Mhm.
And I learned from you. I really did. I learned from you, and my mindset and my approach is even going to be shifted after this conversation. So I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me and the people. I thank you. Now,
You
Dennis,
are very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. My daddy would be proud.
my daddy would be proud. That's heavy. People don't
My daddy would
know
be.
that
Yeah.
that's heavy. That's heavy. Now tell everybody where they can find you online and tell them about Focus Talk
Okay.
and just give them your spiels. We ain't got no
Sounds good.
time limit. It's on you.
Okay. Well, Focus Talk is the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show daring to make a difference in our communities. And it airs every Friday on 89.3 WKKC, where I am the station manager and the assistant operations director. So I host the show. I've been hosting the show for a while, and I take pride in it because it's not just a talking head show where we're talking about different opinions and who's right and who's wrong. I pride myself in being able to give individuals a platform where they can talk about who they are and what they do, whether they're an artist, a musician, a politician, or a student, a community activist, whoever they are, they have an opportunity to just talk about who they are and let people know in the community what they're doing. And then later on in life, you may see this particular person at an award show or on television. You're like, hey, he was on Dennis Snipe's show,
Yep.
you know, that sort of thing. And then in addition to that, if you want to get more information about Dennis Snipe Enterprises and all of the other stuff that we do, Jack Rabbit's Pastries and Fine Baked Goods and the voiceovers and the
Yes.
public speaking and so on and so forth, it's DennisSnipe.com. That's DennisSnipe.com.
Perfect.
That's
Now I'll
me.
make sure. Yeah, when I edit it, we'll put that down there in the lower thirds. We'll put some pizzazz on it for you. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
I
And
appreciate
so
you. And they
if
can go watch Focus Talk on YouTube too, right?
oh my gosh, there are I was talking to my editor and videographer the other day, and he said there are tons of interviews on YouTube. So
Yes.
just go on YouTube, put in my name, Dennis Snipe interviews, and they'll all pop up.
Yes. And you will be, for anyone who did not know you or has not had the pleasure of meeting you, their lives have changed today. They you on their radar now, sir.
And I'm very proud of that. At times, I don't know about anyone else, but I had said to myself, well, I don't want to be a braggart and talk about this and I talk about that. But then again, you have to, Kim Brio, you who are watching, who are listening, you have your own original recipe. And so therefore you have to let the world know about who you are and what you do, because the closed mouth don't get fed.
You
If
right
you don't
about it.
tell anyone about who you are and your gifting, then no one will know. So
Yeah.
you stand on the highest mountain and blow your horn as loud as you can so that everyone can hear it.
Come on. I feel like you was talking directly to me.
Well, you know what? Eat the fish and throw away the bones. If it
Okay.
applies to you,
Hey, if it
then
applies,
use it.
okay.
If it applies, yeah, then use it.
That's what
If
I'm
not,
talking
don't
about.
worry about it. But
I
that's
appreciate you.
my final answer. And I'm sticking to it.
And you sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it.
I appreciate you, Dennis. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for having the conversation. And I'm looking forward to seeing, after this quarantine, to seeing you in real life. All right.
Yeah, once the smoke blows over, we have to celebrate. I just reached 50 on the 16th of this month. And when I was in grade school and in third grade, I thought 50 was an eternity away. But here I am,
But
and
here
I'm
you
grateful.
are. There you
So
go.
we have to celebrate, because I had a COVID-19 birthday party, which was just me and my mom and my significant other, Marvelous Harris.
Yeah.
But
Tell Marvelous, hey.
I will definitely do that. And so once the smoke blows over, we have to do something really big.
Yes, with some banana pudding there.
Hoo-hoo.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for coming, Dennis. This has been today's Black Quarantine Report. Tomorrow, we will be interviewing the Tylers. We're going to interview Ashley and David Tyler. We're going to talk to a Black couple with a big old family being quarantined, and we're gonna have some real conversations. Okay, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be
All
good.
right.
All right. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow.